Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Skarim Zimik. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Thursday, the 7th of January. India's Health Minister reviews preparedness for second COVID-19 vaccination dry run. Terrorist incidents in Pakistan contradict government's claims of establishing peace, says PDM chief. And Taliban says Doha agreement key to resolve Afghanistan conflict. And now for all the details. Indian Health Minister Harsh Vardhan on Thursday held a meeting with Health Minister of States and Union Territories a day before the nationwide COVID-19 vaccine dry run. He announced that the 2 COVID-19 vaccines in India are on the verge of being available across the country and that efforts are being done to ensure seamless last-mile delivery of the vaccines.
India's Health Minister Harsh Vardhan on Thursday held a video conference with health ministers of all the states and union territories ahead of COVID-19 vaccine rollout across the country. The health minister asked the state authorities to be prepared for the nationwide dry run on January 8 and announced that COVID-19 vaccines, Covishield by Serum Institute of India and Bharat Biotech's Covaxin are on the verge of being available in the country and that efforts are to ensure seamless last-mile delivery of the vaccines. The first dry run for COVID-19 vaccination was conducted by all states and union territories on 2nd of January. A second dry run will take place on January 8 in all districts of the country.
2 वैक्सीन्स जिनका नाम कोविशील्ड है और कोवैक्सीन है, ये देश के लिए उपलब्ध होने की स्थिति में आ गई हैं और हमारी कोशिश ये है कि एकदम बिना किसी रुकावट के, जिसे कहते हैं कि सीमलेस लास्ट माइल डिलीवरी इन वैक्सीन्स की हम सारे देश में उस स्थान तक पहुंचा दें जहां पर हमको अपने फर्स्ट फेज के अंदर हमारे को किस प्रकार से जो अपने प्रायोरिटी ग्रुप्स हैं उनको वैक्सीनेशन देना है.
Meanwhile, transportation of COVID-19 vaccine is to begin in 2-3 days as government has allowed passenger aircraft to transport vaccines. Western Pune city will be central hub from where vaccine distribution will take place. 41 destinations across the country have been finalized for delivery of the vaccines.
Thousands of farmers took out a tractor march on Thursday on the outskirts of Indian capital New Delhi as part of their ongoing protest against new farm laws that liberalize the agriculture sector. This comes as an 8th round of talks between farmer unions and the government is scheduled to take place on Friday to resolve the impasse.
Thousands of farmers on tractors occupied a stretch of an expressway on the periphery of the Indian capital New Delhi on Thursday in one of the biggest shows of strength since they began a sit-in more than a month ago against new farm laws that liberalize agriculture sector. The farmers said the rally was a way to build pressure on the government in the lead-up to India's Republic Day on January 26, when the farm unions have threatened to march on to the centre of the capital if the laws are not revoked by then. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government has held several rounds of talks with the farmers, offering concessions on the 3 laws, but the farmers have resisted the overtures.
ट्रैक्टर रैली चलेंगे, लेकिन आज रिहर्सल है और 26 तारीख की ये तैयारी है एक किस्म से.
Farmers who have been camping at Delhi's borders since late November fear that the deregulation will eventually replace government-regulated wholesale markets, where they are guaranteed a minimum support price for their produce. The government says the state-regulated market yards will continue alongside the new ones and has offered to give written assurances that the farmers will continue to get a minimum price. On Friday, the 2 sides are scheduled to sit down for another round of talks to resolve the impasse.
In news from Pakistan, Chief of Pakistan Democratic Movement Maulana Fazlur Rehman has said recent killing of Hazara coal miners in Balochistan has showed that the government's claims of having established peace were wrong. Rehman accused Prime Minister Imran Khan-led government of having ruined peace and the country's economy.
Pakistan Democratic Movement or PDM's President Maulana Fazlur Rehman, while referring to the killing of Hazara coal miners, has said that the recent incident showed that the government's claims of having established peace were wrong. Addressing a PDM rally in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa's Bannu district, Rehman accused Imran Khan-led government of having ruined peace and the country's economy and claimed that there was no system in the tribal areas. The 11 coal miners were killed while 4 others were seriously injured on January 3 after terrorists belonging to Islamic State opened fire on them at the Mach coal field in Balochistan.
मैं कहता हूं, दहशतगर्दी के खिलाफ अगर फौज ने कुर्बानी दी है, तो हमने भी कुर्बानी दी है, इस अवाम ने भी कुर्बानी दी है, और अब बताओ, अगर दहशतगर्दी मौजूद है, तो फिर तुम्हारे दावे गलत हैं.
The killing of Hazara coal miners is being heavily criticized by the opposition, and the community is staging a continuous sit-in protest in Quetta to demand justice. Hazaras have refused to bury the bodies of the deceased until PM Imran Khan meets them. Khan, while expressing his inability to visit the protesters, has urged them to bury the bodies and promised he would visit them very soon.
Moving on, a protest was recently held by locals in Gilgit Baltistan against rising high-handedness of police in the illegally occupied region. The protesters expressed resentment over an incident in which police guards allegedly beat up a local taxi driver for demanding compensation after the government vehicle hit his car. Scores of locals in Gilgit Baltistan held a protest recently against the rising high-handedness of police forces in the illegally occupied region. The protesters highlighted the incident of a taxi driver who they said was brutally beaten up by the policemen for asking for compensation after the government vehicle hit and damaged his taxi. The protesters said they were earlier assured by authorities that the policemen who were guards of the Assistant Commissioner of Jharkhand area would be arrested, but no action had been taken so far.
यहाँ पर गुंडागर्दी और बदमाशी ब्यूरोक्रेसी की तरफ से नहीं चलनी चाहिए. ये एक पुरअमन इलाका है.
उत्तर से जो ब्यूरोक्रेसी जो आ रही है वो हमारे साथ तेरी माँ जैसे सुलूक कर रही है. ये जो हमारे एक भाई इसका ताल्लुक निगर से हो, गिलगित से हो, किसी भी एरिया से, गिलगित बल्तिस्तान में किसी जगह से, ये सेक्टेरियन वायलेंस है, सेक्टेरियन बेस नहीं है. ये मामले जो है बिल्कुल शफाफ तरीके से जुडिशियल कमीशन उसके ऊपर बैठना चाहिए.
Activists have long blamed that police uses brute force against individuals who raise their voices for their basic rights in the illegally occupied region. Locals have to often take to the streets collectively to express their ire at the corridors of power in Islamabad. In news from Afghanistan, the Taliban on Wednesday said that the US Taliban agreement signed in February last year provides a good and effective plan to settle the conflicts in Afghanistan. The remarks come as the Afghan government and Taliban insurgents are set to begin next round of talks for peace from Saturday.
The Taliban spokesperson Mohammad Naeem on Wednesday said that the US Taliban agreement provides a good and effective plan to settle the conflict in Afghanistan. In a series of tweets, Naeem said continuation of diplomacy provides a good path to settle down the disputes. Taliban is firmly committed to the Doha agreement and expect the opponent side to demonstrate the same spirit, he said. The remarks came a day after the negotiating teams of the Afghan government and the Taliban met following a 3-week break and are expected to cover contentious issues such as power sharing and a ceasefire in another round of talks to begin on Saturday. Talks have begun just as US forces prepare for another round of troop withdrawals from Afghanistan this month, in line with the February 2020 Doha agreement with the Taliban. The agreement envisages the United States and its military coalition partners pulling troops out of Afghanistan and ending a 19-year-long war in exchange for Taliban security guarantees.
In news from Sri Lanka, India's Foreign Minister S Jaishankar on Thursday held meetings with Sri Lanka's top political leadership and business community as part of his 3-day visit to Colombo in an effort to further expand ties and expedite strategic investments.
India's Foreign Minister S Jaishankar on Thursday continued bilateral engagements with top political leadership of Sri Lanka as part of his 3-day official visit to the island nation. Taking to Twitter, Jaishankar said he had productive meeting with Sri Lanka's Fisheries Minister Douglas Devananda to review cooperation in fisheries and with the State Minister of Estate Housing Jeevan Thondaman to discuss development programs in plantation areas. Jaishankar also met leader of opposition Sajith Premadasa and former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe to boost bilateral ties. Earlier on Wednesday, he called on Sri Lanka's Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. During his meeting with Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa on Wednesday, he expressed India will be a reliable partner in Sri Lanka's development as they renew cooperation for post-COVID health and economic recovery and expedite strategic investments.
Jitan Devi, a craftswoman who makes handcrafted products from bamboo at a village in India's Jharkhand state, has changed the perspective for women's employment in a rural setup. In an effort for women empowerment, around 30 women are working with Devi and making products from bamboo.
A tribal woman from India's eastern Jharkhand state has made a messiah of herself for other women in her area by reviving and evolving a lost local art of bamboo. Jitan Devi, living in rural area of an underdeveloped state, trained herself along with her husband in making of bamboo handicrafts and then took it upon herself to train other women like her in the region to make them independent. She has given a new identity to traditional bamboo products like baskets or bamboo ropes, which lost their relevance in the world of convenient machine-produced synthetic fiber-based products.
जब से ये काम के हम पकड़े हैं तब से हम लोग का बहुत परिवर्तन बदला गया है। यहाँ तो 20 से 30 दीदी 60 दीदी है। हम लोग सब मिल के काम करते हैं पंचायत भवन में या जहाँ समय मिलता है वहीं करते हैं हम लोग और मिल के एक ही साथ एक स्टोर रूम है वहाँ रखते हैं। बाहर मार्केटिंग जाते हैं, वहाँ से आने का बाद सब जोड़ घटा करके फिर कैलकुलेटर से हम लोग जो बनता है वो अपना बनाते हैं।
घर का काम में तो घरेलू काम करते थे पहले, आजकल हो रहा है कि बाहरी दुनिया भी देखना है। अब बच्चा सबको तो पढ़ाई लिखाई में भी ज़्यादा खर्चा हो रहा है, तो कुछ आगे करेंगे तब तो कर नहीं सके, पढ़ा नहीं सकेंगे हम लोग बच्चा सबको। इसीलिए कुछ बना रहे हैं हम लोग भी दीदी सबके साथ।
There is a huge demand of Jitan Devi's bamboo handicrafts in the rural as well as city area, especially among tourists and city dwellers who intend to take a piece of local tradition with them.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. India's Health Minister reviews preparedness for second COVID-19 vaccination dry run. Terrorist incidents in Pakistan contradict government's claims of establishing peace, says PDM chief. And Taliban says Doha agreement key to resolve Afghanistan conflict. Now, our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter at SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.